This is Scott with Scared City Haunted House again. I'd like to welcome you all in to another installment. This episode we're going to show you how to paint this zombie head that we manufacture. So we're going to go over a little bit of what you'll need today to go off and make your zombie head. Any kind of flesh tone. The flesh tone that we use is just a regular old house paint. Rust-Oleum red paint, you know, any kind of bright or dark red will work. Then we also have a metallic red that'll be to go into the eyeballs to kind of give it a bloodshot look. And then you'll need white acrylic paint, black acrylic paint. You'll also need, we use slime from Fright Props. It's a pretty good product. We put that in the eyes to kind of give it a little more definition, a little more color, and that glazed look. And then we also use our Perma Blood is from Pale Knight Studio. It's a very good product, or you could use Fright Props blood as well. It works pretty well. And then we have grime that we use from Fright Props. And that's all the paints and polyurethanes and stuff that you need to achieve this look. And then we also use a Sharpie to put inside the nose. You can use black paint with that. You don't necessarily have to use a Sharpie. I just always like using a Sharpie to make it a little faster. The color of this is kind of a for the foam when it's naturally poured is kind of a cream based color. We're not going to go extremely you know, we're going to have several coats of our flesh tone. We're just going to do one coat. There's different methods you can go off and use. A lot of folks airbrush, and we occasionally do a little bit of airbrushing ourselves. But I personally, I like painting it by hand. So anybody that likes to paint it by hand, stay tuned. We'll have this thing knocked out here for too long. So we're just doing almost. It starts off wet, but then I'll end up kind of more dry brushing everything in. It'll end up getting a lot of the brush strokes and stuff out the more I go over it. And ultimately what we want is some of the color of the natural foam, the color coming through. That'll kind of give us a little bit of definition with everything. So I want to make sure you get down in all the deeper crevices. Alright, we pretty much got the whole face kind of where we wanted. I'm just kind of going and seeing if there's any bad brush strokes or anything like that, and getting those out right now. Alright, so as you can tell, there's several different highlights and colors bleeding through for the foam, and it's going to really capture a lot of detail from the highs and the lows, just from once you kind of get in there and just kind of brush over it a few times, getting some of the paint off. But the next step that we're going to do is we're going to apply the red spray paint. And we're going to give it just a minute before we spray it. Alright, so we've given it about a minute or two to dry. Again, the paint that we use is Rust-Oleum. It's more of like a candy apple, maybe a little darker than candy apple red. Ultimately what we're going to do is we're going to just cover the mouth area and any of the parts that's got a little bit of you know, deep crevices. We're just going to hit. Alright. So anytime you're painting any kind of spray paint or any other paint, you want to make sure you always use gloves. As you can tell, I even got it on my hands on that go around, so make sure you're wearing gloves. Give it just a minute or two to dry on that, and we'll keep going. Alright, so the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to put the white in the eyes. Pretty much I'm just trying to smooth out the paint and not having a whole lot of brush strokes on that. It's also nice to have a steady hand, which I do not, so we won't have the greatest lines, but it'll look pretty convincing when it's all said and done. So again, we're going back in, kind of getting some of the brush strokes and stuff out. Alright, so I'm actually adding something into the mix as well. You just need to get a Sharpie. And what we're going to use with the Sharpie, and the only thing we're going to use with the Sharpie, is the darkening in the nose to make it look like it's going in. Side, same way. Alright, so you notice we've lifted a little bit of the spray paint off of it. That's not going to affect anything. Once we start putting the blood and everything on that, it'll all be covered. It'll actually kind of give it a little more depth. So now what we're going to do is we're going to come back in with white again, and we're going to kind of give a little bit of a teeth look. So there's a couple little spots on here that I kind of think look like teeth, so I add these in. Kind of gives it a little, just another little depth, a little more detail. So we're going to come in with black. We're going to outline the eyes, and we're going to give just kind of a little gazed look, like he's not having a real good day. So if you don't have the steady hand, that's not going to really matter just a whole lot. You know, it's just not going to have the best lines on it. You still can make it pretty convincing. got the eyes outlined. Now we're gonna mess with the eyeballs. Alright, so you're gonna do one low line and then come one right above it and give it just a little bit of white in between. And then this top one, you're just gonna fill that in. It's gonna be nice and simple. Again, do the same thing over here. And just fill it in. I like to use a metallic bright red for the eyes, for little veins and stuff. But you can use any kind of dark red. Will work just fine. You want to use some kind of stiff brush, so when you're doing this, it's not getting just all over the place. Pretty much you're just going to make little squiggles. They don't have to be the greatest, just something to show a little depth, a little more detail. Let that dry all the way, and then we'll put our slime onto the eyes. It'll kind of give it a really glazed over look, and it'll give a little more color to it. Just another detail. Alright, so the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to give the eyes just a little bit of a tint of a color, give them a little bit of a shine. What we're going to use is Fright Props slime. You don't want to go real heavy on it, just enough to kind of coat it. And if you put just a little too much, you can just go over it a couple times. It'll help pull all that, so it's not super thick. So the next thing we're going to do is we're not going to really paint, we're just going to more dab the grime from Fright Props into place, which will kind of make it look a little more dirty. So I'll pretty much cover everything, eyeballs included. That'll kind of give a little more blend in with it. So once you get it covered, what what you want to do is just kind of go in and take a lot of the high stuff off. Alright, so the last step is putting on the blood. I usually don't use a paintbrush or anything with this method. It looks a little more natural if you use your fingers and just kind of smear it wherever you want it. At this point you can kind of hide some of the lines of where we've done the teeth, that point. There's no really right or wrong when you're going off and putting the blood on. Just whatever you like, you know, just kind of go wherever you want to go with it. I like covering majority of the zombie's head. Kind of fan it out, thicken it up. You know, you see some spots that look like it look good for pulling up in a certain area. Just put them in those deep crevices. At that point, I feel pretty good with that. That pretty much wraps up this little episode of how to paint just a basic zombie head. Thanks for tuning in to Scared City Productions on YouTube. For more videos, subscribe to our channel.